Chosen one, what if I told you, you are the fulfillment of an ancient prophecy? That your bloodline is royal, your mission divine, and your very existence is a threat to darkness? For so long, you felt something pulling at the edges of your awareness, haven't you? Like a truth just out of reach, a memory you can't quite place. It's no coincidence that you've been rejected, misunderstood, and set apart. Those were not random events. They were divine moves, designed to keep you hidden until the right time. That time is now. You are the child of royalty. They worked tirelessly to keep you unaware, to convince you that you were ordinary, to make you doubt yourself. But no more. The veil is lifting, and the truth is coming to light. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. You were never lost. You were waiting for this moment of remembrance. Stay until the end, because what you're about to hear will change how you see yourself forever. Divine heritage hidden in plain sight. From the time you can remember, it's felt as though you were walking a different path. Perhaps you couldn't quite put your finger on it, but something set you apart. The way you thought, the things you noticed, even the struggles you faced, they all seemed to come from another realm. While others around you moved effortlessly through the expectations of society, you felt the burden of being different. Maybe it came out in quiet ways, feeling like the outsider at school, wondering why you couldn't seem to connect with the groups that made life look so easy. Or maybe it showed up in larger moments, when those you trusted dismissed your vision or couldn't understand the depth of what you felt. It's no wonder you questioned yourself, wondering if there was something wrong with you. But the truth is, what you saw as a burden, what they saw as odd or inconvenient, was your uniqueness shining through. Your difference wasn't the problem, it was the proof. Over time, that feeling of not fitting in may have turned into frustration. It's exhausting to constantly wonder why you can't find your place, why the dreams you carry in your heart don't align with the world's version of success. You've likely faced moments of deep doubt, times when you thought, maybe I should just give up. Maybe I'm wrong about all of this. Those are the nights that linger, the moments when your purpose feels clouded and your confidence falters. Think of all the times you've been told, directly or indirectly, that you're too much, too intense, too quiet, too different. And yet, even in those moments of rejection, a tiny voice within you persisted. It whispered that there was more to your story. It reminded you that, despite the pain of feeling like an outcast, there was a reason for your struggle. It's that voice that's brought you here, searching for understanding, looking for the confirmation you've always needed. Biblical stories often highlight individuals who didn't seem to fit their surroundings, figures who were out of place until their divine purpose was revealed. Think of David, the shepherd boy overlooked even by his own family. He was the last one anyone expected to be chosen, but God saw what others couldn't. When the prophet Samuel came to anoint the next king of Israel, David wasn't even invited to stand in line with his brothers. Yet Samuel declared, "Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." 1 Samuel 16 verse 7. David's seemingly insignificant role as a shepherd was, in fact, his preparation. In the same way, your journey has not been a series of random hardships. It's been a deliberate process, guided by hands that see what others cannot. Your uniqueness is not a flaw, it's your calling card. And now you're starting to notice the shift. What once felt like rejection now feels like redirection. The very traits that made you different, the ones you once tried to hide, are emerging as your strengths. The quiet intuition that others dismissed as overly sensitive is now proving to be your compass. The creative spark they said was impractical is now lighting the way for something new. Even your struggles, the times you were laughed at, the moments you were overlooked, are becoming the foundation for your growth. It's as if the pieces of your life are rearranging themselves, forming a pattern you couldn't see before. You're finding that your otherness isn't an obstacle, it's a key that opens doors no one else can access. This shift isn't happening by chance. There are forces at work, aligning your path in ways that defy explanation. They placed you in situations where you wouldn't blend in, not to punish you, but to protect you. Like Moses, hidden among reeds and raised in the house of Pharaoh, your placement has always been intentional. Moses wasn't where he belonged in a conventional sense, but that's exactly what prepared him for his divine mission. You, too, have been shielded, positioned in unexpected places so that when the time came, you could rise without being hindered by the expectations of those who didn't understand your calling. What once seemed like a misalignment was actually a strategy, a way of ensuring that your potential would remain intact until it was ready to be fully revealed. The realization of this truth isn't always easy. It requires a moment of deep self-reflection, a willingness to look at your past with new eyes. Many people resist this, clinging to old stories of rejection or inadequacy. It's tempting to stay in the familiar role of the outsider, to continue blaming the world for not accepting you. But now you have a choice. Will you continue to carry the weight of past misunderstandings, or will you release them and embrace the power of your difference? This is the moment where everything changes. Your divine heritage, hidden in plain sight for so long, is now ready to be claimed. You don't have to wait for anyone's approval. You don't need permission to step into your true self. All you need to do is say yes to the calling that's been within you all along. As you embrace this truth, you'll find that the world begins to shift around you. The same traits that once drew criticism will start to attract admiration. You'll notice that people are drawn to your authenticity, to the light you bring simply by being who you are. Opportunities will present themselves that never seemed possible before. Each step you take in alignment with your divine heritage will feel more natural, more empowering. You'll no longer feel the need to explain or justify yourself. Instead, you'll walk in your purpose with confidence, knowing that you were always meant to stand out. You'll understand that your uniqueness isn't just something to accept, it's something to celebrate. You are no longer the outsider, the odd one out, the one who never quite fit. You are the one who was hidden, placed precisely where you needed to be so that when the time came, you would rise as the person you were always meant to be. Your difference is your strength, your light, your calling. Now is the time to own it fully, to step into your divine identity without hesitation. Comment heritage if you feel this truth stirring within you. Remember, you've always been set apart. You've always been chosen. And now, the world will see you for who you truly are. The test of separation and pain as initiation. There's a reason you felt alone at times. A reason why, no matter how much you tried to connect, you were met with walls instead of warmth. Those long nights when the silence was deafening, when you asked yourself if you were somehow unworthy of belonging, weren't just moments of despair, they were stages of transformation. The heartache, the rejections, the betrayals, they all seemed so random, so unfair. But now, you're starting to sense that those trials were not punishment, they were initiation. You're not alone in this feeling. Many chosen ones, set apart from birth, have felt that same piercing sense of not belonging. It's as if the world was actively pushing them out, but what if that separation wasn't meant to harm you? What if it was designed to protect you, to refine you, to prepare you? You see, the pain didn't just happen to you, it happened for you. Think back to the moments that hurt the most. Maybe it was a friendship you thought would last forever, only to have it dissolve into misunderstanding. Perhaps it was a family member's harsh words, cutting you deeper than you ever expected. These weren't just unfortunate events. They were perfectly timed experiences meant to teach you something profound. Through the rejection, you discovered strength you didn't know you had. Through the loneliness, you learned to rely on a power greater than yourself. And through the heartbreak, you gained the ability to discern who truly belonged in your life. Pain has a way of stripping away illusions, of forcing you to see what's real. And though it was agonizing at the time, it left you sharper, more resilient, and more in tune with your higher purpose. In the story of Joseph, we see a powerful example of how separation and suffering can be the greatest tools of transformation. When Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery, it must have felt like the ultimate betrayal. He was abandoned by his own family, taken from everything he knew, and placed into circumstances beyond his control. Yet, every step of his journey, from being thrown into a pit to rising to a position of power in Egypt, was part of a divine plan. Psalm 105 verse 19 captures this beautifully. Until the time that his word came to pass, the word of the Lord tested him. Joseph's trials were not random, they were preparing him. The very events that seemed to be breaking him were actually positioning him to fulfill his destiny. And the same is true for you. The moments that felt like losses were, in reality, gains waiting to unfold. As you look back on your life, you may notice something remarkable. The wounds that once left you feeling shattered now serve as evidence of your growth. Every time you were set aside, every time you faced what seemed like undeserved suffering, a part of you was being refined. You started to see patterns emerge, connections you couldn't have made before. Perhaps a rejection at work led you to pursue a passion you'd been putting off. Maybe a breakup pushed you to rediscover your own worth, independent of another's approval. Slowly, the pieces begin to fit together. The shifts are subtle at first, like the first rays of sunlight after a long storm. But over time, the transformation becomes undeniable. You're no longer the person who was simply surviving the pain. You've become the person who understands its purpose. This realization isn't something you've reached alone. There's been a force guiding you all along. Those nights you spent crying out for answers were not unheard. Behind the scenes, divine alignment was taking place. Certain people were removed from your life to make space for those who would support your growth. Situations that seemed like dead ends were carefully designed detours leading you to something better. It's as though you've been on a carefully orchestrated path, even when it felt like you were walking blind. This is the beauty of divine intervention. It often works in ways we can't see until we look back. What once seemed cruel now feels like grace. What once seemed meaningless now feels like preparation. Yet, understanding this doesn't always come easily. Accepting that your pain had purpose can feel overwhelming. You might resist it at first, clinging to the belief that things should have been different. But the truth is, the path you walked was never about comfort. It was about becoming. This moment of realization is sacred. It's the moment where you stand at the crossroads and decide, will you let the pain define you, or will you let it refine you? It's not enough to see the signs, you must embrace them. You must step into the truth that your trials were the fire that forged you. This is your moment to claim the strength that's been inside you all along. And now, knowing this, it's time to move forward. You've been tested, yes, but you've also been prepared. This is where you stop questioning whether you're ready and start acting as though you are. Let go of the fear, the doubt, and the hesitation. You've already walked through the fire. You've already survived the storms. Now it's time to step into your new reality. Deepen your spiritual practice. Lean into the calling that's been whispering to you. Trust that the path ahead is clear, because it was always meant for you. This isn't the end of your story, it's the turning point. The place where you stop surviving and start thriving. Comment "initiated" if this resonates with you. Remember, every tear you shed, every challenge you faced, was not a setback. It was a setup for something greater. The pain you endured wasn't the end, it was the beginning. Now it's time to rise. You are the fulfillment of prophecy. There's a reason you've always felt different, a reason why no matter how much you tried to fit into the world around you, something inside you refused to conform. That nagging feeling that you're here for a greater purpose, that your life carries meaning beyond the surface, isn't just wishful thinking, it's truth. Perhaps you felt lost at times, unsure of why certain doors stayed closed or why you face struggles others don't seem to understand. But deep down, there's been a whisper, a sense of calling that you can't ignore. It's as if the very fabric of your existence is woven with threads of something ancient and profound. The truth is, your journey was written long before you arrived, and you are stepping into a story far bigger than you imagined. For years, that calling may have felt more like a burden. It's not easy walking a path that others can't see. You may have found yourself questioning why certain things kept happening, why relationships crumbled, why opportunities slipped away, why life seemed to test you over and over. Those moments of confusion and heartache weren't just random. They were preparing you. When the world didn't understand your vision, when you felt out of place, that wasn't a sign of failure. It was a sign of alignment. You weren't meant to follow the crowd. Your path is different because your purpose is different. You've been carrying a light within you, even when it felt dim, even when you doubted it existed. That light is now ready to shine. Scripture reveals that there have always been those chosen for a time like this. Consider Joel 2 verses 28 to 29. And afterward, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, your young men will see visions. Even on my servants, both men and women, I will pour out my spirit in those days. These words were not just spoken for a distant age, they were spoken for you. You are one of those called to rise when the world needed it most. This isn't about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about being willing to step into the role you were always meant to play. You've been part of a divine plan all along, even when you couldn't see it. The struggles you faced, the questions you asked, the yearning you felt, they were all pointing you toward this truth. Now, the shift is happening. You can feel it, can't you? Things that once seemed so heavy are starting to lift. Patterns you didn't understand are beginning to make sense. You notice the timing of events, how certain people come into your life just when you need them, how opportunities appear that align perfectly with your inner desires. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. As you step into your calling, you'll see more of these signs. You'll start to recognize that the challenges you faced were the refining fire, burning away what no longer serves you and leaving you with clarity. The moments that felt like setbacks were actually stepping stones. You're being drawn into alignment, into a flow that feels both natural and miraculous. What's more, you're not walking this path alone. The forces that placed you here in this exact moment in history have been working behind the scenes. When you cried out for guidance, it wasn't met with silence. It was met with movement, even if you couldn't see it at the time. Divine intervention is not always loud or obvious. It's often quiet, subtle, like a gentle hand steering you toward what's meant for you. You are part of a tapestry that stretches beyond what you can imagine, and every thread of your life is woven into a greater pattern. The synchronicities, the gut feelings, the sudden bursts of inspiration, they're all evidence that you are being guided. This is not random. This is divine alignment. But seeing the path is only the beginning. Now comes the moment of choice. Will you accept this calling? Will you embrace the truth that you are here for a reason, that your life is more than a series of random events? Many resist at first, afraid of what it means to step into such a role. Fear of the unknown, fear of judgment, fear of failure. It's all natural. But this is where transformation begins. True alignment requires not just seeing the signs but following them. It means acknowledging that the trials you endured were not meant to break you, but to prepare you. The awakening you're experiencing isn't just personal, it's cosmic. It's time to step fully into that understanding and embody it. You are not the same person you were before. The signs you've been given, the truths that are unfolding, are calling you to rise. Let go of the doubt that has held you back. Release the fear that you are not enough. You have always been enough. You have been chosen for this moment, for this role, for this purpose. The more you step into that truth, the stronger you become. Every time you choose faith over fear, every time you trust the process, you grow into the person you were always meant to be. Your mission is real. Your calling is intentional. Now it's time to act on it. Comment "fulfill" if this resonates with you. You are not here by chance. You are not lost. You are the fulfillment of a prophecy that was written long before you even realized it. The world needs your light now more than ever. The time has come to rise, to claim your role, and to walk boldly into your purpose. Your awakening is not just a beginning. It's a return to who you truly are. Awakening, the crumbling of illusion. There's a moment that comes when everything you once held as truth begins to fall away. It's as if the world you've carefully built around you suddenly doesn't feel solid anymore. The roles you've played, the beliefs you've clung to, the distractions you've leaned on for comfort, all of them start to crumble. You may be feeling that now, a sense of unraveling that's both unsettling and strangely freeing. You're beginning to see the world with new eyes, noticing cracks in the foundation that were always there but never fully visible. This is not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. What you're experiencing is the crumbling of illusion, and while it may feel disorienting, it's also an invitation to discover a deeper truth. It's not easy though. The illusions that are falling away often held a sense of security, even if they weren't entirely real. Think about the roles you've played, whether it was being the peacekeeper in your family, the overachiever at work, or the friend who always had it together. Those roles became part of your identity, and when they start to dissolve, it can feel like you're losing pieces of yourself. Add to that the masks you wore to fit in, the coping mechanisms you used to keep going, and the stories you told yourself about who you were supposed to be. Letting go of these layers isn't just uncomfortable, it's deeply emotional. You might feel raw, exposed, and even a little lost. But this rawness is where the real work begins. Because in losing what isn't real, you're making space to discover what is. This process has always been part of the spiritual journey. Think of the story of Jacob wrestling the angel in Genesis 32 verses 24 to 30. Jacob's entire life had been defined by struggle, against his brother, against his circumstances, even against himself. That night, alone and desperate, he wrestled until dawn, refusing to let go until he received a blessing. And when the struggle was over, he was forever changed. He left with a limp, a reminder of his transformation, but he also left with a new name, Israel. This story shows us that the crumbling of what we once relied on is not the end. It's a turning point, a moment where we stop clinging to false identities and begin to step into the truth of who we are meant to be. As you move through this process, you'll start to notice shifts. They might be subtle at first, like a quiet realization that certain conversations no longer resonate or that you feel more drained than inspired by certain environments. Over time, these shifts become more pronounced. You may find yourself drawn to new ways of thinking, new practices that feel more aligned with your soul. Relationships may change as you become more authentic, and old patterns that once felt so entrenched begin to fade. Even your internal dialogue transforms. You start to question old narratives, replacing self-doubt with curiosity and self-compassion. Each of these changes is a sign that the illusions are crumbling, making way for the clarity that's been waiting to emerge. This transformation isn't happening in isolation. There are forces at work that are clearing your path and aligning your steps, even if you can't see them yet. What feels like chaos on the surface is often divine order in disguise. Behind the scenes, synchronicities are weaving together a tapestry you can't yet fully understand. Perhaps a seemingly random encounter sparks a new idea, or a long-closed door suddenly opens just when you need it most. These are not coincidences. They are gentle nudges from the universe, reminding you that you're not alone in this process. The crumbling of illusion is guided by something greater, a force that is helping you align with your highest purpose and calling. But recognizing these shifts is only the first step. Now comes the challenge of embracing them fully. This can be the hardest part, because it means stepping into the unknown. Many people resist this stage, clinging to the remnants of the old because it feels safer. It's natural to want to hold on to what you've always known, even if it no longer serves you. But true transformation requires letting go. It means trusting that what's falling away was never meant to stay, and that what's coming is far more aligned with who you really are. This is a sacred moment, a crossroads where you must decide whether to retreat into the comfort of illusion or step boldly into the clarity of truth. Now is the time to move forward with confidence. You've come this far, and you're ready to take the next step. Let go of the fears and doubts that tell you you're not enough. Release the need to control every outcome. Instead, trust the process and allow yourself to be guided. You are not defined by the roles you played or the masks you wore. You are defined by the light within you, the truth that is now shining through as the illusions crumble. This is your moment to rise, to step fully into your purpose, and to live authentically. Comment "Awake" if this resonates with you. As you continue this journey, remember that the crumbling of illusion is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one that is more authentic, more aligned, and more deeply fulfilling than anything you've known before. Embrace it, trust it, and know that you are exactly where you need to be. This is your awakening, reclaiming your divine inheritance. There's a moment when everything you thought was solid begins to shift. The roles you once clung to, the identities you constructed to fit in, the relationships you thought would define you, they all start to feel shaky. It's as if the ground beneath your feet is no longer stable. Perhaps you've noticed it recently, that growing sense of unease. The questions you once brushed aside are now impossible to ignore. Who am I really? What am I doing here? Why does the world around me no longer feel like it fits? You're not alone in these feelings. Many people reach a point where the illusions they've been living under start to crumble. It's a disorienting experience, but it's also a sacred one. Because the breaking apart of what's false is the beginning of discovering what's true. This process can be deeply emotional. As the illusions fall away, it can feel like you're losing everything you once relied on. The identity you built, the validation you sought, the habits you clung to for a sense of security, all of them begin to dissolve. And that's not easy. It might feel like you're grieving parts of yourself, even questioning if you'll ever find solid ground again. You might remember moments of profound disappointment, times when the people you trusted proved untrustworthy, or when the life you tried so hard to build didn't deliver the peace you'd hoped for. These aren't just coincidences or bad luck. They're wake-up calls. And as painful as they may be, they serve a purpose. They're meant to bring you to a place of raw authenticity, to strip away what no longer serves you so you can see who you really are. Throughout history, this kind of awakening has been depicted as a sacred struggle. Take the story of Jacob in Genesis 32 verses 24 to 30. Jacob wrestled with an angel all night, refusing to let go until he received a blessing. That encounter left him with a limp, but it also gave him a new identity. He was no longer Jacob, the deceiver, but Israel, the one who wrestles with God and prevails. This story reminds us that the process of wrestling with our illusions is not a sign of failure. It's a necessary step toward clarity and transformation. When the masks we wear are stripped away, when the roles we've played no longer fit, we are left with the truth of who we are. And in that truth, we find our purpose. Once you start to let go of the illusions, you'll notice subtle changes. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, like walking in unfamiliar terrain. But over time, the shifts become undeniable. You begin to recognize patterns in your life, how certain relationships fall away just as new, more aligned connections appear. The routines that once felt so necessary start to lose their hold. Even your inner dialogue begins to change. Instead of criticizing yourself for not meeting certain expectations, you start to ask deeper questions. What really matters to me? What do I truly value? And as you answer these questions, you'll find a new sense of peace. It's not the peace that comes from having everything figured out. It's the peace that comes from knowing you're finally living in alignment with your own truth. These shifts don't happen by chance. They're the result of divine alignment. When the false structures in your life begin to fall away, it's because something greater is working behind the scenes. The challenges you've faced, the doors that have closed, the people who have left, they were all part of a larger plan. What feels like loss is often the clearing of space for something greater. What seems like chaos is often divine order in disguise. As you move through this process, you'll start to see how everything is connected. The synchronicities, the sudden bursts of clarity, the moments of profound insight, they're all signs that you're not just breaking down, you're breaking through. But recognizing these changes isn't enough. At some point, you have to decide. Will you embrace this transformation? Will you step fully into the person you're meant to be? This is where many people struggle. It's tempting to hold on to what's familiar, even when it no longer serves you. Letting go of illusions means stepping into the unknown, and that can be scary. But it's also where true freedom lies. When you stop clinging to what's false, you open yourself to what's real. You begin to see that you don't need to play a role or wear a mask. You can simply be yourself, fully and unapologetically. This is your moment of realization. It's not just about seeing the truth, it's about embodying it. Now that you understand what's happening, it's time to take the next step. Release the fear that's held you back. Let go of the doubts that tell you you're not ready. You are ready. Everything you've been through has prepared you for this moment. Trust in the process. Lean into your spiritual practice, deepen your connection to the divine, and step forward with confidence. The masks are off. The illusions are gone. What's left is the real you. The world needs that version of you, the one who is clear, empowered, and aligned with their purpose. It's time to stop hesitating and start moving forward. This is your moment of remembrance. You're not here by accident. You're here by royal appointment. The crown is yours. Wear it walk in it, and lead with it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Like this video and comment "I am chosen" to let this message anchor in your soul. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. For full prophetic revelations daily, join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light. You've known it all along, haven't you? Now it's time to live it.